Hi dear students, today we are going to begin a new chapter, that is chapter 9, Heredity and Evolution. And the important topics to be covered are the introduction, then what is heredity, then inherited traits, what is variation, Mendel's experiments, laws of inheritance, sex determination and evolution. So these are the important topics to be covered in this chapter, heredity and evolution. So you must be familiar with the term heredity, right? So previous lesson, the last lesson, we were discussing about how do organisms reproduce, and we know how new organisms are born, and we also studied why is it the new organism or the new baby, the newborn organisms is very much similar to their parents, or why they have the features similar to their parents. Yes, there comes the term the heredity. So what is heredity? Passing of traits from parents or ancestors to the offsprings. Offsprings means babies, right? Or it can also be defined as a transfer of characters or traits from the parents to their offsprings is called heredity. So it can be the character or characteristics which we pass on to the next generation. So it can be the hair color, yeah, or the shape of the feet. So such characters which is being carried away to the next generation. Okay, and we know like certain features are being carried to the next generation, in the sense the basic features, for example baby of an elephant will be the miniature form of it, that is basic structures will be similar to their parents itself, right? But certain features may vary also, but basic structures will be similar to the elephant itself. Human beings itself, the human beings have the basic structure same, basic body designs are same, and but more features will be resembling with our parents or our close relatives, right? So we already learned why, what is DNA copying, what is genes and all, we already studied. So we know what is genetics. So what is genetics? So it's the branch of science which deals with the study of heredity is known as genetics. Okay, what is genetics? The branch of science which deals with the study of heredity is known as genetics. So heredity again, it is the genetic transmission of traits. Genetic transmission of traits or characters from parents to offsprings. So through genes it happens, right? So through genes, that is why genetics is that much important. So what can be these inherited traits, or what can be the traits? So the traits that genetically passed on from one generation to another generation. So it can be, as already mentioned, it can be hair color, eye color, yeah, height, shape of the feet, earlobes, etc. Okay, then comes what is variation. This also already we have discussed in our last chapter. So variation means the differences, the changes, the differences between the characters or traits among the individuals of same species are called as variation. So here itself you can see the group of children sitting here, you can see the color differences in them. Here you can see the color difference, here you can see here. Yes, these are the variations. So the variation may be of different kinds, like in human species itself, like earlobes. So few will be having the earlobes which is attached, yeah, or maybe free also. So these are the variations which can be seen. Then accumulation of variation during reproduction. So how this variation occurs? So we know about the sexual reproduction, which occurs the fusion of male and female gametes. That means when an organisms reproduce, the offsprings or the babies show minor variation also. So we know that in sexual reproduction DNA copying is taking place. That means DNA from the father and mother is being getting copied to the child or the offsprings, right? So the offsprings will be having a combination of DNA from father and mother. So while this DNA copying occurs, so there can be inaccuracies in DNA copying. So due to this inaccuracy while DNA copying, it leads to variation. That is why there can be changes or variation seen. So this is more in the case of sexual reproduction compared to asexual reproduction. And whether these variations are benefiting or it is having any negative impact. So some cases these variations are very helpful. It helps the organisms to adjust to the changes in the particular climate. So it helps the organism in a positive way. But there can be a situation that these changes do not help that organism to adjust to the climate also. It can also happen. So if it is not allowing to adjust to that particular climate, means they cannot survive. So it may lead to the death of that organism also. So in such cases what happens, they cannot fight, they cannot live, they cannot survive. So it can lead to the extinction of species also. So this variation, it can be useful, also it can show a negative impact on the organisms. Then rules of inheritance of characters or the traits. So characters we know are transferred through the genes. So where the genes genes are present in the DNA. What is the full form of DNA? Yes, deoxyribonucleic acid. So it's in the chromosomes. Where the chromosomes are present? In the nucleus of the cell. Yes, that we know, we already learned. So the inheritance of characters is due to the fact that we are getting from both the parents, right? So genetic material is being transferred to the offsprings from both father as well as from the mother. Yeah, so each trait, whether it's a hair color, eye color or anything, each trait in our body, there are two factors, one coming from the father and one from mother. Yeah, so how there are certain rules for this inheritance of characters also. So for how a baby is getting, for example, a father is having a curly hair, the child is being my mother is having a long hair, so which is not curly. So and if the child baby may be getting a hair which is curly, so why that is dominant in that case of that particular baby, why it is being the character or the trait which has received from the father. So there is a rules for inheriting certain characters. So we should know why it happened like that. Or the eye color, for the mother is having blue eye color, maybe that colors have been seen in the offspring. So why it happens, so that we must know, right? So for that, Gregor Johann Mendel, so he is the father of genetics, who conducted experiments with garden pea plants. So all of you are familiar with pea plant, right? And he determined, or he reached at a conclusion for the rules of inheritance of traits. So he has given, or he studied about it, and he reached at a conclusion about, or he determined the rules of for the inheritance of traits. So why certain traits are seen in offsprings, all those things. Okay, so we need to study in detail about the Mendel's experiment, so that we will be discussing in the next video. I hope the introductory part of this chapter is clear to you. Thank you.